hello, and welcome to my channel. Oh, welcome back if you've already been here before. If not, my name is Malene. I'm a Danish makeup artist living in Barcelona in Spain. For today's two different looks, that made me feel very two-faced. I pulled out several kinds of makeup to show you different ways of doing a day-friendly makeup. Well, it really made me feel two-faced because as you can see, these two sides are quite different. One of the sides are with the, well, inspired of the videos that keeps giving you recommendations if you're over a certain age. And the other part is just me being me, doing for me what is a day-friendly look. So if you want to see how I did these different looks, then keep watching because I will show you. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to tell me if you prefer look number 1 or look number 2, then let me know in the comment box. And I would also very much like to know what you feel about these videos that tells you to do one thing instead of another when it comes to makeup. Because in a way, I am quite fed up of people telling me what to do and what not to do just because I'm over a certain age. And that's why I wanted to make this video to say, well, you can watch these videos that say all this kind of thing, but of course they're a recommendation and you don't have to do it. But if you feel like, oh my God, I'm doing everything wrong. No, you are not. You are just being you. And just take everything like with a grain of salt. And if you can use some of the different recommendations, sure, put it in your makeup routine. And if not, don't feel bad about doing makeup bad because you are not doing makeup bad for sure. Now, if you like videos like this, please subscribe to my channel. It would be so awesome to have you join. And now let's go ahead and do some makeup, shall we? To begin with, I am gonna hydrate my face. Of course, I already have on some essence from Pat McGrath Labs and my moisture cream from Ole Henriksen, but it's been a while since I put that on, so I am gonna spritz my face with the Dalba First Spray Serum. So I'm gonna shake it up really well, and then I am just gonna spritz my whole face. And then I'm gonna let that dry a bit. So for the first side, I'm gonna do this is how you do your makeup when you're over 40. And obviously I am well over 40. So I am gonna dip my spatula prototype, that was a hard one, from Refer brushes into, this is supposed to be a skin tint. However, I do not have a skin tint, so it's gonna be the Erborian BB cream. So I am basically going from the middle of my face here. Oh my God, I have a small cat hair here in my nose or something. So I'm gonna go from the middle of my face and then I'm just gonna paint that on. And the thing I really like about this is like you can really get into some difficult spaces with this brush. But apart from that, I've only tried it once. And so far I'm not the biggest fan of this brush because I feel that when you have to paint your makeup on like this, it gives you streaks. I am gonna dip into the brush a little bit more here from my hand, and I think this is a color, I think it was called Natural. I'm just gonna check here. Or what was it called? Nude. It was something with M. So I'm just gonna keep on going here. And then I am gonna go into this area where I'm a little bit red because as you can probably see, I have some sort of eczema going on. And I am treating it, so I'm a little bit dry here under my mouth, under my lips. I'm just gonna go like this. So here I am just gonna take a little bit and over my brow here. and under my brow. And when I paint like this, as you can see, there is some paint on the other side. You press it through the brush. And then a little bit here left over here on my eye area. Not under the eyes though. So this is the beginning. Next step would be to color correct a little bit, and I'm using the Haus Labs. And this is a color Fair Peach. I'm just checking. And I gave it a dot on the inner corner, and then I gave it a dot here on the outer corner. And then I'm gonna let it sit for a little while, preferably about like 60 seconds. And then I'm gonna come back. Time's up for some blending out, and I'm going to use the Refer LC01 brush, and I am just going to tap the concealer into the skin under my eye here ever so gently. And I'm just tapping. I'm not making any like back and forth motions to drag it out. I am just blending it out here, tapping in gentle motions to get it blended out properly. And don't do that. And then the video says to put the concealer on the eye area and use that as an eyeshadow base. Now for some powder, and I am using the Huda Beauty Easy Bake and Setting Powder, and I'm using it in the Cherry Blossom Cake or something like that. So I pressed it into a powder puff, and now I am going to press it into the eye area first. And I am just tapping, pressing it on, and then I am going down the nose here, and then I am just going out a little bit. Then I am gonna give my nasal folds, I think you call this area, some powder here because I don't want the makeup to set in these lines here. Now it's time for some bronzer, and I'm using the Nude Honey from Pat McGrath Labs. And the brush I'm using for that task is the Morphe M401. And I'm just going to go in gently here, right under and on my cheekbones, ever so gently, because I don't want to go crazy with the bronzer. I'm not going to go up here and do anything because I have the bangs, so it's going to cover that. It's just to give a little bit of warmth. And then I'm going to go over my nose here a little bit on my nose, and that's it. Several of the videos with advice for people over 40 advise to use a blending brush and your bronzer in the transition area, because that would like bind the whole look together and make it beautiful and subtle. So that's what I'm going to do here. Back and forth, and then I'm going to blend it out a little bit. And I'm using the Blender Pro from Sonia G, by the way. Several of the videos also recommended a cream blush. And I am now using my LC02 Refer brush, and I am dipping into the Pat McGrath Labs blush stick in the color Divine Rose Glow. And I put it on my hand first, and then I am just filling my brush up with that. And they actually say to start on the apples of your cheeks and then go upwards here. So that's what I'm going to do. I am just going to tap that on here and then go upwards on my cheekbone and out to my hairline, or actually into my hairline. So that looks kind of fresh. I'm just going to pick up a little bit more from my hand and use that here and really blend that into the bronzer also, so it's not like streaks on my face. Now for the highlighter, I brushed off the bronzing color from my Morphe brush, and I am just going to use Venus Nectar, and I am just tapping that on top and into the blush here. And it actually says to go all the way onto the apples of your cheeks here on top of that. And in a way, find that a little bit weird to have like a highlighting shade here to highlight the apples of your cheeks, but well, I'm just going to do this now. It also said that instead of using some eyeshadow, you can just use the highlighting shade on your mobile eyelids. So that's what I'm going to do here. And I'm just using my hand, as you can see, my ring finger. And now we have some highlighter on the mobile eyelid. Before I go on to the next step, I have to fill in my eyebrows, because normally I do that to begin with when I start an eye look, but I forgot to do that. So I'm going to do that now, and I'm shaking it up here, and it's a Anastasia Beverly Hills, the Micro Stroke Brow Pen. And I am going to need a mirror for that, so I'm just going to turn a little bit here to the side, and then I am just making some hair-like strokes here in my eyebrow. And I am doing it very gently, as you might see. And then I'm going from the lower part here and just going into the hairs I already have. I'm just keeping my eyes, well, my fingers crossed, hoping that you can actually see what I'm doing here. And then I am just gonna follow the natural direction of my brows and the way the hairs grow. And I am just going to brush off to see if that is okay. And it looks kind of natural, and I'm just going to fill in a little bit more here. Just doing it ever so gently here. Oh, I normally do not do this on camera because I feel that it's a little bit of waste of time, but now I'm doing it. I'm of course going to set my brow hairs, and for that task I am using the Rare Beauty one. And always remember to go against the hairs first and then put them into place. Several of the videos also recommend you to not use a black eyeliner, but a brown eyeliner, and do, like, if you can, a microfine eyeliner. I am just going to use the Armani eye tint in the color 30M. I think it's called Cedar, and I'm going to use a 29 refer brush for that task. And I'm going to use my mirror here so I can actually see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to tap that into the part of the eyelid here that is very close, like the lash line, more or less. And then I am going a little bit outward here, just a little bit. I'm just gonna see if that is something that you can see. I think you can see it. I'm just gonna check if I can make this line a little bit visible here on the outer part. I'm so used to doing the wing liner, so I really want a small wing here, just a teeny tiny small wing. Doesn't have to be super short, but just a little bit defined. That would be fine with me. Of course, we're going to use some mascara. We're going to need some mascara. So I am using the Pat McGrath Labs mascara, the Dark Star, and I am just going the normal way, putting it on, starting from the inner part here, close to the lashes, and then I'm just zigzagging to really disperse of the mascara on the top and on the bottom. And some of the videos said to put on some mascara on the top, like on the end of the lashes first. And I was like, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to make them top heavy? You really want the structure to be close to the lash line so they can hold up the lift and look very full. And then they said that you could skip the under eyes, but I am gonna do a little bit on the under eyes, and I'm just gonna look in the mirror here so I can see what I'm actually doing. As you might know, I don't have a lot of lashes here on my under eyes, so it's gonna be a quick and easy job. And this is it. Because some of us lose some of the fullness and the juiciness of our lips the older we get, then it also recommended to do some contouring around the lips to make them a little bit more nice to look at, or beautiful to look at, bigger to look at. So I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to use the Makeup Forever. It's an Artist Crayon, Ultra Color Crayon, and the color Endless Cacao. And I'm going to start by doing it down here under my lips. And now I'm going to remember to only do it on the half of the face here. And then over the lip on the top. And yeah. Now I'm just feeling a little bit dirty here. But it's creating a shadow for sure. And instead of using a lipstick, then to use a gloss instead. So I'm using the Nude Venus. To make my lips look a little bit plump, hopefully. I think it's beautiful to have gloss on, but also the older we get, we have these lines around the lip area here. It can be because we are very animated and talk and move our lips, and it can be kissing lines. I prefer to say that. Or maybe because you smoked or smoke or vape, because then you do a lot of this. And that will create the lines. So, yeah. But this is the final first look for people of the ages 40 plus. What do you think? Is it something that you would do? Think about that. And then I am going to go on to the next half of the face. So for the second look, I am loading up some Haus Lab foundation on my brush from my hand with the LC03. And I am just going to start in the middle here, and I am tapping it on, and I'm just going to look in the mirror. I'm just going to turn my face to the mirror so I can actually see what I do, and you can see what I am doing. So I'm basically just tapping it on, and then I am going to remove my hair here so I can go all over. And now I'm going down here where I have the eczema. I'm going to need a little bit more of the foundation, so I am just grabbing for that. It's just like small pump. And then I'm going to load off the brush again. And when it looks like it is on or in the brush, I am going to do the same thing all over again. So I am just pressing it on. And here, as you can see, it is kind of taking my redness away, so that's very nice. And I am just going in here, really giving it some coverage in a natural way, of course. I don't want to overdo this because this is a very beautiful and skin-like foundation, so I don't want to overdo it. And I know I'm a little bit red there. I'm not gonna try to cover that with my foundation. And as you can see, I already did my eyebrow for this part. So I am just gonna go around it here with the foundation, because when you put it on, before you put on any foundation or whatever you use in your face, then it will of course last longer because you put it on something that is dry and it will not slip and slide during the day. So now I think it's looking good. I'm gonna put like some dots here using the Haus concealer, and then I am giving it some dots with my Natasha Denona concealer in the color P3. And then I'm gonna let that sit for a little while. I'm gonna use the time where I wait for it to dry up a little bit to put on a little bit. I just borrowed a little bit from up here, and I'm gonna put that on the red spot on my nose. And then I am gonna see if I can find the concealer brush from Refer, the LC01, and I'm just tapping. So like this. And now I am going to do the same around my eye. And I'm just tapping where the concealer is, and I'm going to try not to put my brush in the eye because that kind of hurt. That was a little bit stupid, but well, if you cannot see what you're doing, it's a little hard, and I could not see what I'm doing, and still I can't really see what I'm doing, but I can feel it. So I'm just going to go in here, and then I am just tapping and going back and forth here to really blend it out. And I am being gentle, actually. And I am just blending it into the foundation. I think this is about enough. And then with the part on my puff where there's nothing on, I am just gonna tap to make sure that there are no concealer in the small wrinkles around the eye or the creases or what you want to say. And then I am gonna really load up the brush, no, the puff, sorry. And I am tapping into the powder right now. And then I'm just gonna go back a little bit. So I'm gonna show you, I am gonna really massage it into the puff like so. And then I am gonna press it into the under eye area and into my nasal fold here. Because like I said with the first half, I do not want the foundation to crease there, and also around here a little bit on my nose. And I'm only doing it in these places because I feel like the foundation can be beautiful on its own and it doesn't need setting. And I'm using the same powder as before, the Huda Beauty Easy Bake and setting powder in the color Cherry Blossom Cake. Now I'm going in with some blush, and I'm using a powder blush from Pat McGrath Labs in the color Nude Venus 2. And I am going to use the 05 brush from Refer to put that on. And I am starting here on my cheekbone, and then I am going up. And I am just going up and into my hairline here and into the temples because I want a lifted look. And I'm not going all the way in here. I am just keeping it here on my cheekbones and into my temples and under the eye here to give it a beautiful soft look. I normally don't want to go, like if you can imagine the iris, from the iris having a line go straight down, I don't want to cross that line with the blush too much. So this is what it looks like so far. And just for the fun of it, I'm going to use the Electric Bloom blush also. I'm now turning to the side a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. And I am just going to place that here under. So it's some kind of, it's not the exact sunrise blush or sundown or whatever you call it, but it just gives it a little bit more structure and warmth. Now I'm going to do a bit of contouring of my nose, and I am just going to turn my side a little bit so I can look in the mirror. And I am going from here and then, oops, and then down. And then I am going to do like if you can imagine there was a V here. And that's it for now. So now I'm going to take a concealer buffer brush, and the one I'm using is from Zoeva. And I'm just going to look in the mirror now so I can see what I'm doing. I'm just going back and forth to begin with to try and blend it out a little bit, because I don't want like a line here. Of course, obviously it's supposed to narrow my nose a little bit. And then I'm going to go downwards here, back and forth and downwards. And then I'm just doing it on this side of the line, so it stays sharp here, but it gets blended out. And I'm going to turn my side to the camera so you can see what it looks like. Because if you are doing contouring for day makeup, you want to be really subtle, because you don't want to walk around with lines on your face like this. It looks a little stupid. So now I think this is good enough. I'm gonna set that with the rest, what's left on my on my powder puff here, ever so gently. Of course, I'm gonna highlight this look too. So I am using a McGrath Labs buffer brush, and I am just basically buffing in 2 of the 3 colors from the McGrath Labs trio, highlighting trio. I love that trio. I know I keep saying it, but I really, really, really do, because it's just so lit within. So I am just gently buffing it into the skin here. I hope you can see the effect. Because I made a natural look on the other side, I am gonna make some kind of natural look on this side. So I am gonna use the 30M from Armani, the Armani eye tint, and I put it in my crease, or in my transition area, and now I'm using the Sonia G worker brush, and it's the one that is from I think it was called the Fusion series, because it's like a fusion of synthetic hairs and natural hairs. And I am just pressing it on here and into the skin, and I am just trying to blend it out a little bit. And I feel like these kind of eyeshadows are so easy and so forgiving to work with, especially if you have a brush like this. It makes it so much easier to do your makeup. And I am just working it out here, and that's it. Now I'm using the 68S, and as the S indicate, it is a shimmer. I think this is the color, or I should say, it might be the color that is called Tobacco. And I use that on the inner and the outer corner. I'm just going to use the same brush here, and I'm just going to gently work it in and then blend it out a little bit towards the middle. So tapping it in, blending it into the skin here, and then tapping it into the middle of my mobile eyelid, as you can see. I have a beautiful rose gold, and it's the color 44S. And I'm just gonna tap that here on the middle of the eyelid, and then I am gonna use the same brush again, and I'm just making sure that it gets blended into the previous color. If you have very prominent eyes, then do not use a light color here, then just put the previous color all over your mobile eyelid, or else it would really emphasize that. I am going to use the first color, the 30M, and I'm going to use that under my eye here. And to blend that out, I am going to use the Builder, what is it called? Builder S from Sona G. And I'm just going to go back and forth here under my eye. And I'm going to mix it into the color that's on top. And I think that's about it. Most of the times I actually use a shimmering shadow or like a satin shadow as an inner corner highlight, but I actually also really like to use just a matte and light shadow. So you can use any shadow you want to. I am just using the Fair from the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude because I didn't really find any matte light shadows from Pat McGrath Lab. So I'm just gonna go into this one. Now I'm going to do a winged liner with a liquid eyeliner. And this one is actually from Mercadona. If you're from Spain, you know. So I'm just going to turn to the side a little bit because I want to make this very, very precise and very thin. So I am just starting here. And then I'm going into the middle of my eye. It's a shame because I normally use the Pat McGrath Labs, but it's been out of stock for quite a while now. So I am trying this one out. And I am mainly focusing on the outer half here. So this is what it looks like before the mascara. I'm now going to put on some mascara and I'm just going to look down and then zigzag, as you can see, and basically do what I did on the previous eye. So I make sure that I have a lot of mascara on the lower part close to the eyelid first, and then I zigzag upwards and out here a little bit outwards because I want this little bit of a cat eye effect because of the liner I made. So now I am just tilting my head back a little bit and looking down, and I am just going back and forth, as you can see here. And I have no idea how it looks because I can't really see anything anywhere, but I am hoping it's okay. It feels okay, that much I can say. I'm going to put a little bit of the Skin Color the Claire from Chanel here on my waterline on this eye too. And I prefer to do it with the eyeliner of this color, so it's not as obvious as if you used a white one. But you can do whatever you choose to, or skip the step. I'm going to choose to put on some Omi Matte Trans lipstick from Pat McGrath Labs. This half, and it's basically my lip color, more or less. So it's not so much of like, it doesn't feel so much like I'm wearing lipstick. And this is about it. I'm just gonna put it down here and then I'm gonna check because I don't think I did a good job of putting that on because I wasn't really paying attention. So I am just gonna take my Refer 21 and then I am gonna perfect it in the mirror here. I'm just gonna, my brush covers. So I am just gonna make this look a little better here because it was a little bit wobbly in the line here. So I'm just smoothing it out. And I'm getting it into the fine lines here. So to really melt all things together, I am shaking off the First Spray Serum from Delva, and now I'm just gonna switch my face and go ham. And I forgot my fan, so I'm just gonna fan myself off like this and enjoy the citrusy smell from the serum. You could also do this before putting on some eye makeup, because I have noticed that sometimes when I put on some setting spray, for example, after I have done the full makeup, that it gets a little wet in the eyeshadow, so they can crease a little bit, but I think this is gonna be okay for now. So I am just gonna try and look normal again with my bangs and my hair here. And this is the final two different looks. So I'm going to zoom you out a little bit. Oh my God, I look crazy. I'm going to zoom you out a little bit so you can see what these two different looks look like from a little bit of a distance. This is it. Here you see the two different looks from a distance, and now with some glasses on, because when I put my glasses on, of course, that also changed the whole look up quite a bit because they are very dominant. So the makeup will look a little bit more neutral. Now, which of the two looks do you actually prefer? Number one or number two? I'm very curious to know. But anyway, these are just two suggestions of how you can do your makeup when you're over 40. Hell, when you're over 20, when you're 15, when you're whatever. You do you. Just don't, well, that's only my advice. And that would be to not just be like super strict on yourself and say, okay, this video said I should do this, so I should do that. You know what? Do you? If you like a lot of color, if you like a lot of shimmer, use that. Have fun with makeup. That's what it's for. I keep saying that, I know, but I truly mean it. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, or remember, if you want to tell me which of the two looks you prefer, then please let me know in the comment box. And of course, if you like videos like this, subscribe to my channel. It would be awesome to have you join. Now, I want to thank you so much for taking your time out of the day and watch this video, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you so much. Bye.